Hi, everybody, and thank you very much for joining my session on how to master cloud cost anomalies and trend monitoring. I'm very pleased to be here in Israel Cloud Summit 2023. It's my fourth time in a row, and so very much appreciated having me all those times. And a bit about me. So my background is from economics, studied MBA. I used to be a data analyst until I kind of accidentally started my FinOps career when I joined CloudZone back in 2017, uh, where I was a cost optimization specialist, and is there where I started to learn along with our customers about FinOps and about like cost uh, economics, cloud economics, and we didn't call it FinOps back then. So I was providing recommendations for optimization for our customers. And then in 2019, I moved to OpsFlyer, which is a big SaaS data company, where I was the FinOps lead. And on top of providing some recommendations, I was in charge of like executing them on top of monitoring cloud cost, budgeting, and other things. Back then, OpsFlyer was the biggest spender in Israel in the cloud. Uh, but then we were not the big ones in the big ones 2 or 3 years later as we flattened the curve and we kind of like optimized really good. And in 2022, so about a year ago, I packed my family, my 3 kids, and we moved for my wife's work to California. And I soon after started to work in an American company, which is a sports gear company with a big retail, physical retail and e-commerce presence, where I'm leading the FinOps and specializing in cost in cost optimization. So we're here to speak today about anomalies, anomaly detections, and spikes in cost, and so on. And I'd like in this 20 meeting session to cover the entire full life cycle of an anomaly. So it starts with detecting, understanding that something had happened, and then we move on to investigate and to understand what caused the cost, and then monitor, and then remediation, which is the part that we get to save cost. Once we're done with that, we need to measure how much we saved and how well how well the cost anomalies are going, and then get stronger and prepare to the next spike, and then build and then use all of these to build best practices FinOps culture and credibility with your partnerships. And so here are some examples for anomalies, things that we don't really like to see as FinOps, or and the one that are signing the checks to the cloud providers. Uh, this one is another example, and then here we see another increase, and then this one starts from like 0 going to 3K a month. Yeah. Although it has some more data in it, it's still like a cost spike. So what do we want to achieve in the whole process of cost anomaly alerts? So first and foremost, we want to be on top of cost. We want we want to have a tool that reminds us to monitor costs and get attention when it's needed, and take quick action when something is really going really expensive. And this is part of FinOps, in my opinion. The main goal of FinOps is to drive culture change towards accountability. So we want everyone to be aware and responsible for their cloud cost. We as FinOps role or team, we cannot do it all by ourselves. FinOps at scale requires everyone at the organization to take action. Second goal is to avoid unnecessary cost increase, or basically save money. And it's also an educational tool. So we as FinOps, we understand the charges and cost patterns and so on, but we want the other cloud users to understand what charges they are occurring. And this, And so we also want to shift left. As I said, we want to build relationship. We want to take this opportunity to build relationship with engineers, to earn trust, and to get to know better the organization, the architecture, and then the optimization. And then it's also a gate to monitoring. And so basically, anomalies detection is only one part of cloud cost monitoring, and we want the whole package to be done well in the organization. So what is a cost anomaly? And so basically this example is from something that I built in AppSpire, an in-house anomaly alert tool. So what we can see here in the blue line is the actual cost, and then this is the average, and then two standard deviations above and below are the upper and lower bound. And once the cost is exceeding or is up to a lot, then we call it a cost anomaly. And basically all cost anomalies statistically based of three components. One is the daily increase, and the other one is the dollar daily increase. So in case this might be increased from $1 to $2, which is 200% increase, but we don't want to be bothered by $1. So this is very important. And then we also want some standard deviation increase to filter out some kinds of seasonality and scaling patterns. And so whenever all those three are high, so this is what I call severity high, but then other combinations could be medium or low. And then when we do anomaly alerts, so basically you might be using some other tools that the cloud provider provide, or some other tools that you already use for monitoring and chargeback purposes, throwback, and so on. So just what to watch for and common pitfalls so that we won't do that. The goal here is to avoid false alerts. So we want to understand the alerts or the common pitfalls in order to avoid them. So the first one is seasonality. And so this might be a pattern, weekly pattern, as we run like job every week or every day, every Monday or something like that, or every first of the month and so on. So these are not anomalies. As you see, those are like expected. But then when this Monday job comes on Thursday, so yeah, that's something so that's an alert. That's an anomaly. Usage-based alert or cost-based alert. So your cost might look this way. Spiking on the beginning of the month and then gradually decreasing, and it might not be an alert, which is fine. And why is that? Because the usage might be stable and the price might change, and so we want to avoid this kind of increases that like stress people. And this could be for price tiering at the beginning of the month. This could also be some, for example, spot instance pricing increasing, or RI which is expiring, and then the RI cheap price is climbing to the on-demand expensive price. So we want to make sure we don't fall in this ones. And the other way of this coin is that we don't want to miss other alerts. And so not all anomalies or not all increases in cost would come up as an alert. And then we want to understand what are those cases. So a slow gradual increase such as this might not be caught by the statistical model that I just described, which means that anomaly alerts is only one thing to monitor. It's only one thing in the whole set of tools of FinOps. So it doesn't fully replace monitoring cloud costs. So we do want to do that every month, to do a check-in, or so we do want to foster some other processes. Another way to miss some cost is not to look on the right granularity. So we might end up with looking, for example, for the entire account cost. So we might end up with a pattern where the cost for compute is going down while the CloudWatch cost is going up. And basically we remain at the same cost level, but then we lost some, we lost identifying the increase in CloudWatch. It also comes when you look on, it might come when you look on resources that are microservices that run within some cluster, which is kind of hard to to calculate the cost for them, and then you might end up with increasing costs with that you don't know where it's coming from. And so it's important to look on obviously on a daily granularity, but also weekly and monthly could make much sense. And then keep in mind that cost data is in 2 days delay. So yeah, there are tools or there are discussions about real-time alerts that the FinOps world might consider. I don't know what's my point of it, but yeah, just remember, you're welcome to share your opinion in the chat or in the comments below. All right, so we got an alert. We have an alert. So what's next? So the investigation mode start with sending the alert. So we want to share the data. We want to provide the data to the teams. And so every way that works for you could be good, could be, email, Teams, Slack, Jira, PagerDuty, whatever works for you, just it should be automatically, and it should get to the right people. Right people are engineers, and hands-on people, the people that really know what could cause this increase 2 days ago, 3 days ago, and so on. People that really know the architecture and knows the incoming requests and bits and bytes and so on. Managers could also be great, to prioritize, and they are accountable. They are more accountable towards the budgets and so on. And just make sure one really crucial tip is to send it to a channel or email list, but not an individual person. This is not scalable. And then you would want to start a meaningful discussion. This is where really the FinOps kicks in. And so you would like, in this alert, you might get the attention, and you really want this attention to be prioritized and to be the most efficient. So all the tools could get you so far, so much, but really this is where the FinOps magic starts to happen. So a good message on alert must include the severity. I mean, is it like high things? Is it high severity that they really need to take action now, or can it wait like hours or days? It should also like answer like the real quick and basic questions. Where does it come from? Which accounts, which tags, which usage type, and so on. Visuals are really great tool for that. And if you can add insights from additional sources, that would be wonderful. And like from your deployment log, or correlation for incoming traffic that increased, that might explain why this system cost increased. This is an example from what I shared before. So that's all the statistical things. But here you can also see which tag increased. So you can see that this tag and that tag increased. And then you would also see what the infrastructure cost that increased. So you can see that it comes from spot instances, and then EBSs, and a bit like API requests and so on. So with that, we start like the next phase of investigation, and then we would really want this phase to be as quick as possible. So we want this feedback loop to be quick. So if the cost increase is really not something that we expected, and might be a bug or some other unnecessary, unwanted cost, so we want to decrease it back to normal as fast as possible. And we would also, I'm saying it every slide here, but we don't want to do it. We can do it by ourselves as FinOps. We really care about cost, but what we really want to do is to move this care to everybody else in the organization. We want to shift it left towards everybody in the organization. And so actually it's an educational opportunity for us. So we want like to understand, for us and for the teams, to understand the architecture, and like what's driving the cost, and what happened that caused for this one, how can we optimize. So yeah, and get better in the future, like understand the and get better for the next time that we have a spike. And so this is where usually a discussion is starting. So if it weren't for FinOps, the discussion might have been really shallow and really quick. But we do want the teams to acknowledge. We do want them to kind of provide like a sentence or two of like explanation, and then we can chime in and provide some more insights or like validate their assumption with data. So usually they will, the engineers or the team will give excuse. Don't want to say excuses, but will give like reasoning on top of their minds. And so it might look like, yeah, we did test on that component on that day. So yeah, it might explain. And then you want to double down on that, or blaming the spot instances interruption and then not really looking on what you want them to look. So that's another issue. Or some paradigm or misconceptions that, yeah, the increase in EC2 is probably due to network and volume, but no, you said the increase is from compute. So don't be confuse it with increases in network and volumes and so on. And same for like RDS. And then you want like to really guide them towards the cost charge that increased to solve it. And then the remediation, or the example that I showed before about cost increases. So that's the only the beginning. So this way we'd really like our spikes to happen to look this way. So it happens. There's no way to avoid it. Like that's the cloud. It's so elastic and scalable. So that's things go wrong. We can't avoid that. But what we can control is the time to reduce it. So we really want our alerts or our spikes to look this way, preferably this way, where something happened and then quickly remediated or quickly mitigated, and then it took some more days to remediate, and then this is like the holy grail. Something was identified, and then by the time we identify it, we shut it down. So just remember that we have 2 days in delay. So that's the best we can get. And so we want to measure it. So basically, if it weren't for alerts, the costs were running 60 per day. So we want to claim this as a win. We want to claim this as a saving. So $60 a day, for example, multiplied by the number of days, it could be anywhere, anywhere between 30 and 180 makes sense to me. The question is, how would it have taken to find this cost anomaly and remediate it without the alerts? And then we also want to celebrate the wins. It started with something that we didn't want to happen, but then we took care of it really good. And so we want to celebrate these wins. We could also ask for a reimbursement from the cloud provider for this mistake. It might have been like a human error, and so on. Other things that we want to monitor is like what's the cost saving, how many days it took us to solution, and yeah, for advanced, let's take it offline if you have some other questions. And yes, so to summarize, we want to get stronger for next time. So yeah, keep monitoring. Alerts is only one thing to do in monitoring. So we want to review alert. We want to educate on cost monitoring and alerting, and educate on FinOps, cost pricing, and so on. We want to learn from mistake. We would like to do some cost retrospective analysis on such spikes. Shift left, as I said, teams should own their cost and be accountable for it. Yeah, we want to, as FinOps, we want to take this opportunity to create meaningful partnerships that we could also use in other projects in the future, and then measure saving and celebrate wins. And I hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much. Feel free to reach out for me via LinkedIn, and thank you very much. See you next year.